Hey, everybody, how you doing? Yeah, I watched that game too, so, Welcome to PHLY Flyers postgame presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My name's Bill Matz. I'm your director of whatever for the next hour, and that is Kelly Hinkle of Broad Street Hockey. Charlie O'Connor will be joining us live from the scene of the crime at some point in the show. You know how it goes. Kelly, there are 18 games left. In the first 3 games of this 7-game homestand, they've been outscored like 14-5.
Not great.
How many do you think they can actually win of these last like 18? Now, there's some games against some bad teams, absolutely. But today was a game against a bad team, and they, for 40 minutes of this game, they were bad.
I mean, based on today's effort, and like obviously this is the first look we're getting at what this team is going to be down the stretch. Maybe they win 4.
That's between 3 and 6 is my number.
Yeah,
like I think I'd make the total like 5.5 over under. Like that's
probably go under.
Maybe 6.5 if we're being like, oh, what if they go on a little run because they're the Flyers and they'll be like in line for the 3rd pick and win 6 in a row to close the year or something like that. That said, like I don't think it was an effort thing today, Kelly. At least like while the game was still competitive, there was a point it was like, all right, this is pretty much that. But like they were really good in the first period. Like we talked pregame, like, oh, it's going to be interesting to see how they respond. Lawton trade, they're going to miss their guy. He's a leader of this team, blah, blah, blah. I mean, if it was that, wouldn't they have sucked in the first period? Like, did they realize Lawton wasn't there in between the first and second or in between the second and third and then go, I don't feel like playing today. Like they came out well. It was a pretty entertaining game for the first half of it too. Yeah. I just think like looking at this team right now, their best player, and I'm willing to say it now because of TK's slump, their best and who he's playing with, like you can't even utilize him really. Their best player is a 20-year-old rookie. Yep. Their best centers are a slow 32-year-old that the coach would love to play at like 4th line left wing. And a guy they drafted in the 5th round who everyone likes, but is like, oh, he's going to be a real good 3C. Right. You know, their leading scorer can't score for some reason. Their goalie isn't very good. We're going to talk plenty about Ersson today, and like he's their best goalie, at least, by perception. Paling, Peltier, Delorier, Lixell, Abels, they're all 4th liners at best. The defense is just a bunch of pieces that don't really fit together. Like we like some of these guys. Some of them we think are replaceable. Cam York scratched today. And listen, he hasn't been very good, but he is one of their better defenders. Again, at least by perception. They just straight up aren't good enough. Like this is a bad, bad team. And given the subtractions that they've made since the Frost and Farabee trade, they're worse. Like they're just a worse team than most of the league. That's all it comes down to. Oh, and the power play is the worst thing that's ever existed. Yeah. That's right.
Imagine if they had torn it all down and we had to watch that game for 3 years.
That's like, I know it's like, well, you got to be willing to take on the pain and everything. And
no, I don't.
Man, if I'm a Chicago fan, yeah. Because I like, flags fly forever, all that stuff. I got my partying in at the 3 parades. Sure, I'm willing to go for that. It's been 50 years. I think we can round up to 50, Kelly. I think it's safe to say they will not be ending the streak this season.
It seems unlikely, but you never know.
You never know,
You never know.
Maybe last game of the season they get in on a shootout or something. They're just not good. And it is absolutely in their best interest to not be very good. Like, this isn't me complaining, like, why don't they win? Why didn't they add at the deadline? Like, no, that's obviously asinine. But as much as I believe that this is for the better, watching it, like, I still can't sit there and root for the other team against the Flyers. Like, that's not something I can do. And I realize these are, like, contradictory thoughts, but It's sports. You're allowed to be a maniac. It's what makes them great. It's why I love them. You're allowed to be a lunatic when you're talking about sports.
Right. Yeah, and getting back to what you said about the effort thing. I mean, even in the second when it all started to fall apart, like they didn't it didn't look like they just like stopped playing and they were just like, man, F this game. I'm not going to do it anymore. They looked like they were trying. They were just making huge errors. And when they weren't making errors, they weren't executing on whatever it was they were trying to do. And then, of course, you have Ersson, doing what he does. So, it's just, it's yesterday they made the team worse on purpose. And so this is what we're going to deal with for the last 19 games and 18, I guess now. And we're going to have a real good time.
I really feel like senioritis or like the countdown calendar at school, like when you get into the final month, it's like 16 days left. Like that is what I'm feeling with this team right now.
I'm going to buy a calendar just so I can put giant red X's on every day that
right
we're
here.
Almost done.
Counting down to the end of the Flyers season, April 17th. I think it's safe to say it will not be going further than that. No. Charlie, I know last year for the first time, like Charlie always wants to schedule a vacation for right when the season ends. And he's always like worried about it. Like, but they're going to make a push and make the playoffs. And then my whole thing gets blown up. And I think last year was the first time, like in February, March, he was like, oh, my vacation's scheduled. And I think he's safe to do it again.
I think so.
This year. Another thing that did happen, because the Flyers did have some chances. They hit some pipes. Philip Grubauer somehow killed them today.
He looked good.
Rob Michkov made a few other great saves. Like their one goal is a crazy bounce on that Tippett rush. Like I'm still not really sure what happened on the goal and how it ended up in the net.
No, me neither. That's very weird.
And that leads me though to like this broadcast. The final straw was PK saying at the end, Philip Grubauer is a great goalie in this league. He was just in the AHL. The other day, he gave up 3 goals on 4 shots to Detroit. Like, he's not good. He played a great game. Don't like this. This isn't to disparage the game he played. He did just kind of, I think the score is a little more lopsided because of some of the saves he made. Absolutely. But he's not good. Like, maybe he can get to an acceptable level, but he's been bad. And that
Leah Hextall said that Scott Lawton's never played in the playoffs.
Maybe she got there's researchers. You don't want to just blame the person saying it. Now, make sure your stuff's right. You don't want to just go up there blind, but there are other people who do this stuff. It's ESPN. They have.
This isn't the first time she sucked. So.
No, ESPN has all the researchers in the world. This is very easy information to find out. Hockey Reference, Scott Lawton, toggle over to playoffs. It's there. He's been there multiple times. They said Scott Lawton's never played in the playoffs. Maybe they mixed up the note of Rasmus Ristolainen, who's never been in that. Trying to give some benefit of the doubt, but that was asinine. The high stick against Payne, PK goes, yeah, that's just hockey. Like,
no,
his stick is in the air for no reason, and he brings it down with force on the back of a guy's neck. I don't care if it's an accident. You're responsible for your stick at all times. What are you talking about? Like, they all sounded like freaking morons. And I don't love ripping announcers because it's like tough to do. And I think a lot of times they get unfairly ripped. Like I said to Charlie the other day, like my theory on why everyone hates Joe Buck isn't because of Joe Buck. It's because of the games he called. Like, yeah, he called all the early 2000s NFC title games in which we had our hearts broken 3 times in a row. We had to get mad at someone, and he's the one talking to us. Like, I don't love ripping announcers, but that broadcast today was one of the worst I've ever heard. It stunk.
So PK Subban is way worse at television than I anticipated that he would be, because it seemed like he should have been like a natural at this, but he's not great generally. He should not be a color guy. Like in the studio, all right, maybe, but he was very bad as the second guy on this broadcast. It was just, and half the time it just sounded like they were recording a podcast. Like they were just having chit chat.
Yeah.
I'm like, is there a game happening or? What are we doing here?
Yeah, no, I was baffled by it. And you know what? Early in the game, they did talk a lot about Michkov and talk about the Calder race and all that stuff is cool. It was just like their actual comments about the game were
Not good.
asinine.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get to our first ad break here. I got to tell you about a couple of our sponsors, starting with our friends at TrueMark Financial. It's almost spring, and that means it's time to spring into savings. If you have financial goals, whether it's buying a house, taking that dream vacation, or building your emergency fund, TrueMark Financial Credit Union has the perfect savings account for you. TrueMark Financial offers high-rate certificates and money market accounts to help your money grow faster and work harder for you. For more information, visit TrueMark.com for rates and to learn more. Federally insured by the NCUA, rates are subject to change. TrueMark Financial is an equal opportunity lender. And while we are here, why don't I tell you about our friends at Lucy Nicotine? That's right, 100% pure nicotine, always tobacco-free. Whether you like the breakers, which are nicotine pouches with an extra surprise, it's got a pouch that holds a capsule that can be broken open to release extra flavor and hydration. Me personally, I'm a regular pouch guy. I don't go with the breakers. I just got my refill yesterday, and they have come in handy. Went to SmackDown last night, 3.5-hour show in the building. Can't go anywhere. Sitting at your seat, just pop one in and you get your nicotine fix and a delicious wintergreen flavor. That is the flavor I go with, but they have so many good ones. The cinnamon is really good. I've used that before. Wintergreen is what I'm on now. But whatever it is, I think you should set yourself up with a subscription and have Lucy delivered straight to your door. Let's level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/PHLY and use promo code PHLY to get 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. Again, that's lucy.co/PHLY and use code PHLY to get 20% off. And here comes that fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. The broadcast was bad. You know what else was bad? The goalie again.
Yeah.
Now, this is another one of those, listen, how much can we really blame him? This and that.
How many times have we said that?
At the end of the day, stop the puck. Even in the first period, and I feel like Charlie, I know you want to annoy him with a question because he's been a little bit of an Ersson defender. Right. I think he's just trying to use logic and reason. But nonsense. Charlie in the first period is yeah, he hasn't let in a goal, but they've also hit 2 posts. He let 2 by him. They just didn't happen to go in. Now, if you ask, I would always wish I could ask Brian Boucher, did you play the posts? Because I swear that guy got more posts than anyone I ever saw. And I think it was part of his strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was his save percentage should be 10 points higher for his career based on the post. That's an overestimate, but 4 to 5 minutes. I will say he did have a really good stretch. The 4 to 5 minute mark of the second, Seattle just had that takeover shift. And he had to be on the whole time. He kept the puck out of the net. Once he finally got a hold of a rebound, he's able to freeze it, get them out of trouble. That was all good. But I don't know, distance shots, maybe there's screens and stuff. The breakaway, I think Risto and Couturier just really teamed up for a turnover, and then the shorthanded, a horrible turnover on the power play, and then the shorthanded breakaway. Not much. There's no law you have to let in a breakaway, but overall, man, coming into this one, 83 of 99 since 4 Nations. Today's 28 of 32. He's 847 since the break, below 850. That is horrendous. And it just gets us back to the conversation. He's clearly not a number 1 goalie. That's all there is. Yes, he has a high ceiling. He picks up a decent number of shutouts, especially considering the team in front of him, all that. I get it. But he's giving up distance goals, and he's just a guy that you can't depend on because you have no idea what you're going to get out of him night in and night out.
So I had the thought that you articulated a second ago. Team was real bad in front of him. Can't really blame him for all those goals, can you? But I swear to God, we've said that about Sam Ersson 47 times this season. He's just not that good. And you can't keep pointing to, well, sometimes he's good, because it seems like most of the time he's not good, which means that on the whole, not good. Not good enough.
Like, if he's capable, like last year from November through January or whatever it was, like a stretch where he was about 930, and that's great. But if you then end the season with a sub 900 save percentage, like how bad was the other part? And that's where we are this year. Like, yeah, he had that stretch from Christmas through up until the Four Nations break where he was like 920 or so. Yeah, that's great. Way to go, man. But 847 since then, and your numbers are once again well below average.
Mm-hmm.
That means you give it all back. Like, it's not even okay. And then every now and then he has a clunker. Everyone has a clunker. No, he's just not good for as long as he is good. And that's why his numbers are like below average. That's all it comes down to, is Sam Ersson.
Yeah. And like, I just don't understand why. And again, like I do understand that, like, if you're looking at the goaltenders that we have available, he's the guy that you're like, okay, he's probably most likely to be the least worst of these three goaltenders. Yeah. And so I understand the logic there, but I don't fully understand why they seem so committed to him being the firm number one on this team right now, when first of all, season's over, none of this matters. And also, like, why not see what these other guys like? We don't know about them, so why don't we just see?
It's just a big who cares to me. Like, and maybe this conversation, like you said, season's over, who cares? But it's like, oh, well, he's the number one. Why? We have the worst goaltending in hockey. Why do we have a number one goalie? What is the point? Most of the teams in hockey don't go with like a true number one. I realize that Fedotov and Kolosov are not good. Like, this isn't me going, how can't you play them? But if we're getting 847 over a decent enough sample size to be like, this isn't just one or two bad games. He's been bad since the break. He has just been bad. Why not play someone else? What's the difference?
There is no difference. You're right.
Just like, what's the difference?
And it's just, I don't know, man. I'm just like, I think for me, it's just like, I'm tired of seeing this. Like, I'm tired of seeing this game from Sam Ersson over and over again. I would rather every now and again get to see Fedotov looking like a psycho, and maybe they lose that one too. I don't care.
He's more entertaining.
Exactly. Or getting to see like Kolosov, and like maybe he does a little something, and I'm like, maybe he could be good. Like, I'm just tired of looking at Sam Ersson doing this over and over again, and I would like to see something different.
And like, I do think truly that he could be a good backup, maybe even a backup that gets more than average backup usage. But it's so clear he's not a starter. He's not a 50,
absolutely not.
He's not a 50 game a season guy. Like, that is so clear. And listen, I thought it was worth finding out this season. He had that great stretch last year, and then when he had to take over and start every game, his numbers tanked, and you could understand why that happened, especially for a dude. It's his first year in the league. But now, the exact same thing is happening, and we have the answer. It was worth finding out. You're not always going to get answers that you like when you're trying to find out these questions in a rebuild. You need to know the answer, though. So it was worth asking. We have the answer. This isn't the role for Sam Ersson.
No.
I get that they think he gives them the best chance to win, but again, to what end? To win 6 instead of 5 of the final 18 games? Like,
at this point, I don't know why you would think that anymore.
He's not giving them. Like,
no.
Again, like, even in that second period, like, he had that really good shift where he was the best. He was the only good flyer on the ice that kept the puck out of the back of the net. The entire second and third, though, he wasn't good.
I mean, Cal Peterson makes saves. Like, goaltenders make saves. Like, it's not like they let every shot in when they're bad. Like, yeah, he makes saves. Sometimes he makes big ones. But then also, he lets in a distant shot that he's got eyes on. Or, like, he's not hugging the post good enough or letting shots go off. Like, he's not good. I'm tired of having to have a conversation based around the idea that he is and he's just struggling. Like, I'm just tired of it. He's at best a backup goaltender. Like, that's it. I don't want to debate it anymore. This is what he is. Right now, we have a backup goaltender starting all of our games.
And when we have a better team, better defense, some centers, the end result, a good backup is useful, and I think he could be
Gotta
that.
have one. Yeah, sure.
In limited usage, he's usually pretty good. That's what happened last year when he's backing up Carter Hart, and you see him start ascending, and then as the workload gets more and more, like it got to like 50% at one point. It was like him and Hart kind of splitting the starts.
Right.
And he was still really good at that time. And then when it became all him, it fell off. And the same thing is happening. Like, how many times? And I just remember you asked the same question about Fedotov that you just did, Ersson, a few weeks ago. Like, how many times have we made this excuse for him? Well, the team in front of him. Like, and that's a guy adjusting to the NHL.
Yeah.
Just, really first season in the league. We don't even know how good he actually is or whatever. This is now like the guy you are saying is your number one. I can't make that excuse that I'm like, yeah, I'm done making that excuse for Fedotov after like 20 games. Not even probably, This is now 100 games for Sam Ersson. We know what he is. This is it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that the issue for me is that, like, lately, and I know that I can hear Charlie in my head saying, like, this is what happens. You only remember what happened recently, and that's how you form your opinion about a goaltender. Maybe. But also, like, lately, it's not just like he's letting in goals that you're like, ooh, nice shot, or ooh, picked a corner, or he was screened by 3 guys. No, it's like shots that you look at and you're like, okay, you're an NHL goaltender. I need you to stop that shot 9 out of 10 times. And he's stopping it 2 out of 10 times. That's what's the most annoying thing to me, is that the goals that he lets in, for the most part, seem like they should be stoppable, especially today against a team like Seattle. We're not talking about, Florida.
No, like that was, they got killed on Thursday and they looked really bad.
Yeah.
Also, the Jets might win the President's Trophy. They're a legitimately great team. Seattle stinks. Like, Philip Grubauer was just in the AHL. They started the game talking about how Matty Benier, like, oh yeah, his goal scoring really fell off. He's just not producing the way they need him to. Like, this is a bad team. It's not good. And again, I'm not saying that they should be winning and they should have gone out and added the deadline again or anything. But this is just the evaluation of what we're seeing on the ice. It's not very good. Let's talk about something happy, though, Hinkle.
Okay.
Matvei Michkov.
He did it again.
First period assist gives him 47 points on the season, tying Matt Reed for 13th most by a rookie in franchise history. He is now 1 away from tying Simone Gagne, who had 48 in 1999-2000. That's the most by a Flyers rookie this century. And beyond that, Hinkle, everybody ahead of Gagne did it between 1970 and 1994, that Remberg rookie year. Yeah. This is going to be, just production-wise, the best Flyers rookie season in 30 years, no matter what. Like, that's it. He needs 1 point to tie the guy who has the most since 1994.
Obviously going to happen. And to be quite honest with you, like, I've come to peace with the fact that the rest of this season is going to be more like today than not.
Probably.
But if Michkov gets a point in every one of those stinkers, I'm cool.
Great for me.
Keep it going. Yeah.
I'm all for it. And he had moments today. He should have, like, Forster needs to bury that setup he had. I think Michkov hit a post. He had a few chances on the power play, if we can even call it a power play at this point. But I am still, there is, as bad as this is, I always joke, like, a few years ago when we were still doing DSH radio and I was doing post game after every game for like 3 seasons, and I just quit. Like, there was like a March and April where I was like, I'm not doing post games anymore because this is a waste of everyone's time. Now, one, this is my job now. Like, it's my legitimate only career. I can't just quit. I'd lose my house. But also, there's an actual reason to watch these games. This is not just an exercise in futility, because we have Matvei Michkov. And it's never a waste of time when we are joined by Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat writer. It is Charlie O'Connor joining us live from the scene of the crime.
He's here so fast.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet that someone didn't have a lot to say today.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a lot to say either, honestly, about this game. What the hell is there to talk about? All right, Charlie, so your thoughts on the game and any standout comments from the coach or locker room, if there even were any.
Yeah, I mean, there weren't a ton. This was a pretty straightforward game to analyze. The Flyers played like crap, and I think that was the general consensus by everyone. You did have players, Owen Tippett in particular, because Tippett, brought up that it's no excuse that, there's trades that happened yesterday and we need to be better. And then later in the conversation, I asked him, I was like, look, there's no excuse, and you said that, but do you think it had an impact? And he said, yeah, he thought it did. He said that, look, Lawton and Erik Johnson are guys that help us get energy in the room. I know Erik Johnson doesn't play that much, but he's in the room. He's there, before games, after games, things like that. And Tippett just said, we need to very quickly figure out who's going to be the guys on the team who give us the energy that we're not getting from Lawton, from Erik Johnson, from players like that. So that was interesting, just to hear Tippett, because Tippett's one of those guys, I will say, who I'm hoping steps into a leadership role in the absence of Scott Lawton. I want to see him, take more of a vocal role, and it's not necessarily a role that he feels comfortable doing, but he's on a long-term contract. He's going to be here for the long haul, and I want to see him not fade into the background as much. I want to see him step up, because there was a time when Scott Lawton was like that, where he was a background guy. He was a guy who everybody liked. It wasn't like he wasn't a popular, but he was just a guy. And then he became one of the guys in that room, if not on the ice, especially off the ice. I want to see a guy like Owen Tippett take a little bit more charge. And, today it was interesting. He just spoke up a little bit more than he usually does. That was interesting. As for Tortorella basically said he didn't think that Lawton being traded had an impact at all. He just thinks they're sloppy. He thinks they're playing sloppy. They're not playing well. And they're on a downward, not spiral, because that makes it seem a bit melodramatic. He just basically said that they're on a downward trend. And it's on the coaches to get the structure back going and get the team playing better. Because if they don't start playing better, the rest of the season is going to be real bad. And I know, that does come with the benefit of a higher draft pick, and a lot of fans will be happy with that. But the players certainly aren't trying to do that. The players and the coaches want this team to finish strong. So they're going to keep trying so that they don't have another, 18 more games just like this.
Yeah. And that's about the effort and the energy and everything. Honestly, I think the effect of the trade, and honestly all the trades since January 30th, is they've lost a bunch of players that top 9 NHL players, and they had 5 guys out there who are fourth liners at best today. That's kind of how I think the trade impacted them, because the effort in the first period was good. They played pretty well, and they looked like a team that was ready to come out and be like, all right, everyone's wondering how we're going to respond. We're going to respond by showing Danny you shouldn't have sold, or whatever, whatever motivates players. It looked like that sort of team. And then what did they get sulky after the first? They looked around and were like, oh, Lawton isn't here. Oh my God. I was kind of surprised by the effort in the first period, and then it just fell off. I just think they don't have enough players right now. That's my thing. And Cam York is scratched. He hasn't been great, but he is one of their better defensemen. I just don't think they have enough players, and the goalie hasn't been good. All that combines to team looks bad.
That's certainly a big part of it. I think another thing, and this is something that it's not a new problem. It still would have been a problem had they not traded Scott Lawton, but I thought in this game it was a big part of it. They just have no power play. They got 3 power plays in the first period. That's an opportunity. That was where the energy was the most apparent, was the fact they were drawing penalties. They were putting the Kraken on their heels, and they were creating power play opportunities as a result of their energy. And then they go on the power play and they move the puck around a little bit, I guess, but it's not good. It's not a dangerous power play. It's one of the worst in the league. And if you can't build off of that momentum, if it ends up being anti-momentum, then you see what happens in the second period. When things go the other way, they don't have a 2-goal lead to protect. Instead, they have a 1-goal lead that disappears immediately.
That's my next question was, Charlie, my only question about the power play is, is it even worth asking a question at about the power play at this point? Like you said, 0 for 3 in the first. I think they were 0 for 5 for the game. Now, the one that got taken away on the Couturier penalty, like, unless it happened before the replay they showed on the broadcast, there was no penalty committed.
No, that was a terrible penalty call.
It was a horrible call, I believe. But still, like, this power play is so freaking bad. And again, now I know they don't have enough good players, but they seem to be doing this thing right now where it's just Michkov takes a wrist shot with no puck movement beforehand from the left dot. TK takes a wrist shot with no puck movement or screen from the right dot. Like, is the strategy, oh yeah, they're our leading scorers. Let's see if they can beat the goalie clean. Like, that doesn't seem like the power play is even being coached at that point.
No.
Bill, I just think back to one of the many really rough years of the Drew era. I think it was right after they fired Alain Vigneault. And it was either right after they fired Alain Vigneault or right after they fired Haxel. I think it was Vigneault. And someone asked Drew, what's this team's identity? And he said, well, our identity is, well, we don't have an identity. And I'll answer your question as well. Their strategy is they don't have a strategy. It's really, really embarrassing to watch. You know, and I'm not saying that moving Michkov back over to his more comfortable side would be a cure-all. It wouldn't be. We've seen him on that side a lot of times this year, and that didn't make them an amazing power play. But I'm with Kelly. It wouldn't hurt. It would at least put your most dangerous player in the spot that he's used to playing in, where he knows reflexively where to shade to, you know, where to find the open spots down, you know, below the goal line to make himself an option for passes and rebounds and whatnot. It couldn't hurt. And tonight, you know, they lose Lawton and Kuzmenko, two guys they had on that power play one. They move up Forster and Cates, and then they keep Michkov on the left side. It's like, why? This is your opportunity to restructure a power play that isn't working and get Michkov back in a spot that he's comfortable in. And they're like, nah, we're good. We're just going to throw these two guys up there and see what happens. Like, I don't know. I don't see how you can, in any way, shape, or form, justify Rocky Thompson remaining the power play coach. It's probably hard to justify him remaining a coach, period. But, like, at the very least, he can't be coaching this power play next year. It's abysmal.
Charlie, why is Risto? I mean, again, it doesn't matter, but why is Risto still? He has 19 points this season. Why is he still on the power play? Emil Andre's up. Give Drysdale more opportunity. Like, isn't there just something they could be doing better, if not for right now, for the future? Because, you know, we're selling off all these guys. The directive is clearly now doesn't matter. Let's plan for the future at least. Give Drysdale reps. Give Andre reps. They're the dudes we need doing it. I'm
Bill,
this isn't even a question.
I was going to say, my
answer
was going to be, is that a question or just a complaint?
It's
yes.
I'm bewildered by whatever the hell this power play has been for the last 3 years. Sam Ersson, Chuck, comments, questions, concerns.
I mean, I don't think he was horrendous, but he wasn't good. The goal that Beniers scores, like, yeah, Andre gets burned on that play. He's real bad in coverage, but it's still not a shot that is terribly dangerous. You know, Ersson has the angle, he's hugging the post, and somehow the puck just kind of bounces through him on its way to the net. The first goal, I will grant, that's an unexpected shot, and the screen that Rodrigo Abels is giving, it's tough to see. I can understand why Ersson didn't react to that. He just didn't think that a shot was going to come from that angle, from that spot, and he couldn't see it anyway because Abels was setting a perfect screen. The fourth goal, though, that Montour scores, like, that's a distant shot from the point. Like, you got to fight through the screen better. He is screened. I think Forrester's in the way. But as a goalie, like, there's a reason why point shots don't go in the net that often. They're from distance, and even though teams are always trying to set screens, goalies, because they know that a point shot is likely to come once the puck goes back there, they fight through them. They work side to side. They're making an effort. On that play, I just don't think Ersson made enough of an effort, and he gives up the goal because he can't see the puck. But again, that's not just on the screen. That's on Ersson for not fighting through it. He made some saves in this game. I thought the first half of the game he was pretty darn good overall. It's just that he's clearly not at his sharpest, whether that's because he's tired or whether that's because it's just one of his down stretches and the Flyers are playing a ton of games. I don't know, but he's not playing well right now. It's been now, I think, 3-4 straight games. I think it's four straight games of him playing poorly. I understand why people are in my mention screaming for Ivan Fedotov, but I don't know if you can trust Ivan Fedotov to be any better. I know he was real good in that game in Winnipeg, but his full season numbers ain't great for a reason. Like, I just don't think the Flyers have a good answer in goal. And if Ersson keeps struggling to this degree, it's going to raise some questions about where he fits long term. It will.
Now, our conversation about Ersson earlier was just like, yeah, he is the best of their goalies. But when you have the worst goaltending in the league, I don't understand anointing a guy the number one. Like, I don't know. He's 847 since Four Nations. Everything he did before that, he has now given back. And that's why his career and season numbers are well below average. This is what he is when you make him the number one. I don't get using him in this role that he's clearly not suited for. But
yeah, I don't.
What it is.
I don't quite agree, because you've said this quite a few times on the last couple of years. I don't quite agree with the using the Four Nations as the turning point, because I thought the first 2 games out of Four Nations he was good. He didn't put up great numbers against Edmonton, but I thought he was pretty good in that game. I thought it was just they didn't give up a lot of shots. And yeah, he gave up some goals because it's Edmonton. The other game coming out of the break, I thought he was very good in that. It's been since that Pittsburgh game. That Pittsburgh game was, in my mind, the pivot, and he just hasn't been able to get back on track since.
I was just going to ask Chuck, do you get the sense that the Cam York, I mean, obviously with them looking so bad today, it's not going to be a tough decision about changing the lineup, but do you get the sense that the Cam York scratching is just a 1-game thing? And I'm assuming that Andre comes out because, again, didn't have a great game. What's your read on that? Like, do you think it's just going to be a 1-game sit down?
Kelly, I don't know. I mean, I would have to think that it's going to be a 1-game sit down, because he is an important player. I'm trying to find something
to talk about, Charlie.
He gets a ton of minutes. I would think that it's not going to be extended, but like yesterday, like, it's just that there hasn't been enough time. Like, right. He had a bad game on Thursday, but the main focus on Thursday was the deadline. Then they practiced on Friday, but again, the main focus was the deadline. No one was asking about Cam York. And then we find out this morning before availability that Cam York is scratched. Like, I would think he'll be back in on Sunday, but I don't know. Maybe John Tortorella just, has a bug up his ass and wants to keep York out for a while. I know from conversations I had last night, writing my article for PHLY, that they want Emil Andre to play in most games the rest of the year. He's up to play. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to play in every game. It just means that he's going to play in most games. Now, does that mean that they're going to pull Cam York out for an extended period of time to keep Andre in? I don't think so, because York is a really important player, but they do want Andre in. Did he play well tonight? No. John Tortorella did say after the game, though, that, look, it's a tough situation. You're throwing these guys in, 12:30 start. They didn't have a practice with the team. So I don't think he's going to hold it against him too much. It would make sense if they pulled him out for a game. It's a back-to-back, not the end of the world. But it's a long-winded way to say, Kelly, like, you're asking me a question I don't know the answer to. I would put him back in because he's an important player and you want to get him going.
Yeah.
But John Tortorella is the head coach. Who the hell knows what he's going to do? And we haven't had a chance to ask him about it because it's been a crazy last few days with the deadline.
I just have to follow up on York because there's a conversation we had pregame, and then we'll do stars. Now, if John Tortorella just has that bug up his ass about Cam York, and, he's due a contract and not having the best season overall, not really sure if you want to make that long-term commitment, he'd make a hell of a trade chip. They can't possibly let John Tortorella turn this into a Morgan Frost situation, right? Like, you can't tank his value. If you think maybe we're going to trade him this offseason, you have to play him and pretend he's great, right? Like, they can't. Management has to not let Tortorella do that.
Well, I guess where I'm coming from, Bill, and I think we might differ a little bit in this opinion. I don't think they tanked Morgan Frost's value all that much. Like, unless you think that he's just a really, really good player that John Tortorella ruined. But they functionally got a second-round pick back for him. Was Morgan Frost ever going to be the caliber of player who would have gotten a first-round pick back in a trade? Like, I guess I'm not convinced that Morgan Frost's value was, like, torpedoed by John Tortorella, unless you believe that Morgan Frost is a top 6 NHL forward waiting to happen until as long as he gets away from John Tortorella for an extended period of time. So even if Cam York is sat multiple times the rest of the year, I think there will be plenty of teams that still want him. And I don't necessarily think that, like, it's going to take his value from being a first round pick and a prospect or a key piece of a deal for a potential 1C to They're getting a 3rd round pick for him if you're lucky. Like, he's still a young, talented defenseman who teams are going to be excited about because he's mobile, he can move the puck, and he can do a lot of good things. So I don't know what John Tortorella is going to do, but I'm skeptical that even if he does go full torts on York, I don't think it's going to kill his value. I think he's still going to be a valuable player.
All right, Charlie, good luck with this one. It is time for Charlie O'Connor's 3 stars of the game, presented by our friends at Rite Aid. That's right, it's the Rite Aid 3 stars. Charlie, what do you got for this one? Star number 3.
Yeah, I got news for you. Ain't no Flyers in this one.
Shocking.
The one guy who scored was Owen Tippett. I think that puck went off a Kraken player. So no Flyers are getting this one. 3rd star of the game, I'm going to give it to Chandler Stevenson. Honestly, I'm not going to pretend that I watched him incredibly closely, but that 3rd goal at the end of the 1st period was the dagger. It's a breakaway, but not all breakaways get finished. He finished it. He beat Sam Ersson, and boom. Game's pretty much over. The 3rd period was honestly a waste of everyone's time. So Chandler Stevenson, 3rd star of the game.
All right, star number 2.
Star number 2, Matty Beniers. If Chandler Stevenson scored the goal that was the dagger, Beniers scored the game-changing goal in the 2nd period. Great move to fool a young defenseman in Melandre. Basically, just the hockey equivalent of a crossover, I guess you could call it. It didn't quite step over him like Allen Iverson did, but definitely a crossover. And then finds a way to get the puck past Ersson. And Beniers is a good player. He's a fun player to watch. I did notice him in this game because he does stuff. He buzzes. He plays with jump. He was good in this game. So Beniers, 2nd star of the game.
And today's 1st star.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be giving this guy the 1st star, but I'm going to give it to Philip Grubauer. I mean, one of the worst goalies in hockey this year, if not the worst goalie in hockey this year. But to me, and I already wrote this part up of my article, it's going to be on all PHLY in a couple hours. To me, the turning point of this game was his monster save on Matvei Michkov, because it's still a 1-1 game. The Flyers, they give up the game tying goal, but it seemed like they were finally starting to stabilize a little bit at the end of the 2nd period. There's that BS penalty on Couturier, but it just turns it into a 4-on-4, and the Flyers controlled that 4-on-4, at least the first, 2/3 of it. You have 2 penalties that the officials miss. Then the officials cause a penalty by blatantly interfering with Owen Tippett. Flyers are buzzing. They're flying around, and it looked like for that split second after that rebound goes to Michkov, you're thinking they're going to take the lead and then they're going to roll. They've got this back. Well, Grubauer makes what can only be described as an incredible save on a pure finisher in Michkov. And then 30 seconds later is when Beniers scores. It's before the 4-on-4 even ends. To me, that is this not just the save of the game, that's the play of the game. And I never expected it to come from a guy who's been probably by the numbers one of the worst players in hockey this year.
No, Charlie, according to PK Subban, Philly Grubauer is a great goaltender in this league.
I mean, at one time.
The one you honestly
you missed a real broadcast.
A classic This was
it was
great. All right, Chuck. That'll do it for today. Charlie will be back with us for post-game tomorrow. That's right. Flyers are so nice. We got to do this twice. All right, Charlie. We'll talk after the Devils game.
Bye, Charlie.
All right. Bye, Kelly. Bye, Bill.
That was Charlie O'Connor. Of course, his 3 stars are presented to you by Rite Aid. But right now, I got to take a quick second to tell you about a couple more of our sponsors. Are your joints aching? Are your hands cramping? Is your back out of whack? Well, then Rothman's got you, because at Rothman Orthopedics, they're practicing specialized care, and it has been their passion for over 50 years. Their mission, high-quality, compassionate, and affordable care rooted in research. Research leading to new treatments and better outcomes, because each Rothman doc is laser-focused on their specialty. Hip, knee, spine, you name it. They have a team for each body part right in your backyard, so you can get back to whatever you specialize in, because they're Rothman Orthopedics, and they specialize in orthopedics and you. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make your appointment today. And while we are here, got to tell you about Timeline. What is Timeline? Timeline sells health and longevity supplements featuring their proprietary MetaPure ingredient. MetaPure works with the cells in your body to help reverse age-related decline. Maybe we can get some of this for a couple of Flyers. Benefits include increased strength, energy, and endurance. They have done 15 plus years of research and secured over 30 patents in the United States for this product. we've been given some samples of this product from Timeline, and a lot of people already saying that they're feeling more energetic, just ready to go in the morning, whatever it might be. They just feel a little better. And when you get into your mid-30s, you're starting to get a little older, just a little more tired, man. Listen, I'm 36 now. I feel it, and that's why we want you to check out Timeline. And right now, Timeline is giving you 10% off your order of Mida Pure. Go to timeline.com/PHLY today to get started. That's timeline.com/PHLY. So check them out right now. All right. And okay, we got Kelly back. Outstanding.
I'm here.
Yeah. We have to do now. That's right. It's time for the Ace Hardware temperature check. Let's take a look at which flyer is heating up or cooling off with our Ace Hardware temp check. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project today. And I am going to give it to Owen Tippett because he is heating up right now. I will say I've liked what I've seen for the most part out of Owen Tippett. Now, like the second half of today's game, no one was really good. No. But he does get that goal. And yes, Charlie was right. Like, yeah, kind of a weird lucky bounce. But that's what goal scorers get. That's how they get those big totals. You have your ripper shots. You have your highlight reel rush goals and everything. We've seen those from Owen Tippett. It's going to the net and getting the bounces, doing those little things. That's what will take your goal total from 20 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 35. And he has been on one of his better stretches of the season since coming back from Four Nations. Of course, right out of the gate, he had four goals in 3 games. Then he went scoreless for 3, but he gets back on the board tonight. Now, it was really good play in the neutral zone by Couturier, and then he gets it to Mish, and Mish gets it over to Tippett. But it's Tippett's skill that gets him to that spot. It's his speed, it's his ability to control the puck, and then he takes it to the net. You take it to the net, good things can happen. So Owen Tippett heating up here at the end of this season, and it's nice to see him hopefully get his goal total to where we want it to be, because in the off season we're going to look at it and go, all right, wasn't a disaster, wasn't a great year for Owen Tippett. I am still expecting him to have years with big goal totals where he really heats up. My hope, it's when the season and goals actually matter. Hopefully like that 35-40 goal season that we all think he's capable of, it comes when they're like fighting for a playoff spot or fighting for a division title or fighting to get to a conference final. How nice would that be? So that is our Ace Hardware temperature check.
I like it.
And I want to talk about that line a little bit. Not their best game, not anyone's best game. But this Tippett, Couturier, Michkov line, did you hear them say on the broadcast they have scored more 5-on-5 goals since Four Nations than anyone? Like any line in hockey, they have the most 5-on-5 goals.
I didn't hear that, but also like I need it fact checked because they were just making things up on this broadcast. So I mean, it could be true because they have been a very effective line, but more 5-on-5 than anyone in the league feels like it couldn't be anyone on the Flyers, honestly.
Outside of like Kuzmenko, they're the only line that scored. Yeah. The Cates line did come back a little hot. They've cooled off. So it makes sense. And especially when you look at, Michkov has, points in every game outside of the one Jets game where he won it in the shootout. True. Like he has at least 1 point in every game out of the break other than that one. So I suppose it makes some sense. And it's not as if any of those points are going to come on the power play. How could they? They don't have a power play. I was like, while that was a horrendous call on the missed call on the high stick, and then the call that took away the power play where Couturier like barely touched the guy and they called him for hooking, and it's like, I don't know, man. Don't you have to hook someone for it to be hooking? But I guess not.
The refs were on one this afternoon.
It wasn't as if after the first period I'm like, oh, power play, here we go. Like it is abysmal. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap today. I know we talked about it a little with Charlie, but they go 0 for 3 in the first. I don't think they have a strategy at all. It's like, I'm just seeing Michkov on the left dot taking wrist shots. I'm seeing TK on the right dot taking wrist shots. Like That's not a power play. That's not even a 5-on-5 strategy. There's barely any traffic. It doesn't come like after some good puck movement or a one-timer. No, it's just them standing there looking around. There's really nothing. Let me shoot it. And it's been like their most consistent way to get shots on goal for like 2 weeks now on the power play. It is unprecedentedly inept. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah, like I had someone not too long ago get out a whiteboard with the little hockey thing on it, draw up the Washington Capitals power play, and like show me what they do and how they make it work, what their strategy is, how they move the puck, which guy is where. I don't think anyone could do that with the Flyers. No. I don't think you could draw it up on a whiteboard because I don't think there is any kind of coherent, repeatable strategy that they employ in order to try to score a goal. They just go out there and do stuff.
And like Washington, yes, they do have the benefit of the greatest goal scorer of all time.
Sure.
But that also kind of illustrates the number one option, the thing that they're trying to do. They've been trying to do for 20 years, and it continues to work.
Right. They don't need to change the strategy.
Their strategy, like, they have to come up with ways to keep it working. Like, it's... I don't understand how the Flyers just don't have a plan. And yeah, you're mixing in new guys. Like Lawton was on the power play. Kuzmenko was here 7 games.
Yeah.
Like, Lawton doesn't belong on a power play. And I realize that gets to the personnel issue. This isn't 100% on Rocky Thompson, but like,
okay.
I don't know, man. It doesn't matter. Even if you have like a bad quarterback, if you have the worst offense in football, the offensive coordinator gets fired. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm the quarterback.
And also, here's the thing, though. Like, if I was seeing something that looked like a strategy on the power play with crappy players in each of those roles that can't execute what they're trying to do because they're not very good, then like maybe I'm willing to give Rocky Thompson a little bit of grace. But for me, this is another big test for Briere and Keith Jones, because I don't know how you could go into next season with him in the role that he currently has. If they decide to do that, I'm going to have some questions, because it's not a subjective thing at this point. Like,
it makes all of the talk of accountability bullshit. Like, that's it. Power play over these last 3 seasons. We have 18 games left, but enough of a sample size here.
Yeah.
Power play since Rocky Thompson took it over. 14.3%. Where does that rank, Kelly? It ranks 33rd. But wait, how? 33rd. Well, because Utah and the Yotes are technically 2 totally different entities.
So
the Flyers power play actually ranks lower than the number of teams currently in the league.
They're so bad, they're like -1.
Yes.
They're like negative good.
Yes.
Negatively ranked.
So over these
incredible.
Over these 3 seasons, obviously there's 96 different, teams that you can choose from, like their power play totals. 96 qualifying teams over these last 3 seasons. The Flyers totals out of 96, 87th, 89th, 95th.
It's actually, like, I'm not mad. I'm actually laughing. Like, this is funny at this point.
It's unprecedented ineptitude. Like, I don't even know if there's anything you can compare it to. I know last year was like the first time a team's ever finished like dead last twice. Well, I have no idea how there are teams worse this year. It's insane. But hey, 18 games left. Honestly, I hope they don't score a power play goal in any of them, because every power play goal is like, it's an anomaly. It's pure freaking luck whenever they score a power play goal at this point. It's the worst thing that's ever been. All right. We have a few super chats. Let's get to them.
Oh, boy.
I know. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Thank you for super chatting after a game like this. We appreciate this audience. We were talking on the way out yesterday, like, can you even imagine what it'll be like when this team's good and covering them and like talking about good things and they win usually? Like, I'm hanging in just for that. Honestly.
I don't know. I won't know how to act.
We appreciate the audience sticking with this team as they become more frustrating every day. All right. Super chat from Adam S. Was it a bad idea to sign TK, who turns bad after Christmas every year?
Does he turn bad after Christmas every year?
I don't know. He's scored 30 goals each of the last 2 seasons. He's having a scoring slump right now.
Yeah.
Obviously at that price tag, which won't look all that enormous in the next few years as long as they hit the cap projections.
Right.
I think he's productive enough right now, even in this slump. And they have no one. Like, who's getting him the puck? There's Matvei Michkov, there's Travis Konechny, and then like a bunch of guys we hope are in the middle 6 at some point. You know, I just I can't say it's bad to sign TK when there's nobody around him. Everyone, like, is it bad to sign Mikko Rantanen because he couldn't drive a second line in Colorado, and since he went to Carolina and doesn't have Nathan McKinnon anymore, like, he hasn't done a ton? You know, some things are just, it's not all on the individual.
Most players are not Connor McDavid.
Yeah,
like
that's the
TK is good for what he is.
Now, like, listen, I thought it was smarter to trade TK, but we're beyond that now.
Yeah.
All right, from JH, 10 out of 10 game, Michkov, generational talent confirmed.
Absolutely.
It was as bad as, honestly, PK, even when Michkov, like, in the 3rd period, I was like, yeah, pad those stats. Like, he's, like, really going for it in the last couple of shifts, I felt like, and he made some plays early. He gets the assist. PK's, like, really singing his praises, and I'm like, no. You've sounded like a moron for half of this broadcast. I don't want you liking this guy. Tell me he's actually John Tortorella's right to bench him and stuff. Like, that's what I want to hear after some of your other comments today. But it's great to see Michkov like this. It's a reason to watch these final 18 games.
Yep.
All right, from Adam S. says, Charlie, the Ayers apologist.
Listen, we can't dunk on Charlie when he's not here. Himself. Yeah.
I will say, like, all right, he played well against Edmonton, but gave up 4 goals because it's Edmonton. They only allowed 18 shots, so that's going to deflate your save percentage. No, just make more saves.
Yeah.
It's not illegal to make more saves. Like, you know how we always do the thing about Marty Brodeur, like, oh, nice 19-save shutout you had there. He made all the saves. Now, I'm not trying to say Ersson needs to be Brodeur, but team gives up 18 shots, just give up 2 goals. How about that? Like, there's no law. There's no law that you have to give up 4 to Edmonton.
Could Sam Ersson be like Brian Boucher?
Yeah.
Like, I would take that. That would be fun. That would be great.
Be pretty good. Just be all right. Like, not asking for a ton here. All right. And Prince Punk should have put my boy Fedotov out there.
We'll get him tomorrow, right?
Fedotov, Kolosov, Cal Peterson, Kelly. They want to put Jason Martinez in net. What's the difference?
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to laugh myself to death if Fedotov goes out there tomorrow and like absolutely stonewalls the Devils. It's going to be.
I saw a comment earlier of someone saying the team's going to bounce back and beat New Jersey 3-2. I'm going to be honest, that'll drive me insane. That will literally drive me freaking insane, Kelly, because like Seattle's bad, and yeah, maybe Grubauer kind of stole the game today.
A little bit.
The Flyers also weren't good for the final 30 minutes of the game. Like, that's objectively true.
Yeah.
I guess, 2 things can be true. All right. That is it. We appreciate all of those. We appreciate all of you watching on TV. Head to allphly.com for more of the show. And what's more is we're wrapping it up. That's right. We will be back tomorrow. It is yet another afternoon game tomorrow, and crossing our fingers, we have a local broadcast tomorrow. I missed JJ
seriously.
something fierce today. But we'll be back with pre and post tomorrow. Charlie will be down at the Farg. I believe it's Steve hosting tomorrow, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's what it's going to be tomorrow afternoon. Tune in right here on the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, do all that stuff. Hit the reminder bell so you never miss a live show. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers, and follow the podcast as well. Wherever you get those, just search PHLY Flyers. That'll do it for us. My name is Bill Matz. That is Kelly Hinkle. Until tomorrow, let's go Michkov.
We all silly like the mayor.